Picture an American summer. The grill is hot. Children are running through the yard.
The knife breaks through the rind, the fruit opens, and there is that explosion of red. Drive through Georgia or Texas, and watermelon can seem almost inseparable from the landscape.
Americans race while carrying watermelons, compete to grow enormous ones, and hold eating contests.
But open a different box in an American museum, and the mood changes immediately. For newly free Black Americans, growing and selling watermelon represented the ability to work independently.
Another America hides inside the watermelon. Labs and researchers trying to create fruits that survive travel.
The result is the fruit we know today. Large, sweet, durable, and increasingly seedless. How did a plant whose ancestry lies in Africa become a symbol of American culture? Long before supermarkets existed, watermelon offered something magical: sweetness and enormous amounts of liquid. A watermelon pulled from a cool stream became the closest thing to natural air conditioning. One fruit could be divided among many people, making it perfectly suited to community meals. As leisure culture changed, watermelon moved away from the farm and into public parks. But watermelons are heavy, bulky, and surprisingly vulnerable during long-distance transportation. A single cracked rind could mean lost money for the farmers and traders. Seed catalogs offered growers an expanding collection of varieties for shape, size, and disease resistance. Some were nearly black, others were striped. Americans argued over which was sweetest. And every slice carried black seeds. Children spit them into the grass for entertainment. But none of this explains how the plant reached America. We must follow the seed backward. The watermelon belongs to an African botanical family, but wild relatives behave differently from modern ones.
Wild populations survived unpredictable environments where water storage provided a significant biological advantage to the plant.
Early humans were not necessarily biting into red sweetness. Some wild fruits were bitter. Archaeological research suggests ancient people used these fruits for nutritious seeds, not just the flesh. Today, researchers examine ancient specimens using genetics, identifying relationships impossible to see just by shape. Genetic research identified the Kordofan melon as the closest relative, strengthening the African origin story. The interior resembles watermelon, but the color challenges everything. Red flesh was a later achievement. Imagine the simplest breeding. A farmer chooses the best seeds, ignoring the worst. Repeat that over harvests. Seeds from fruits that were larger or juicier had a greater chance of being planted again. Color changed over time. Sweetness, texture, and rind thickness were all moving targets for early farmers. Evidence shows watermelon-like fruits were cultivated along the Nile thousands of years ago. The future of the fruit could fit in a handful of seeds. Wherever people moved, they followed. Centuries of trade carried watermelon through Asian and European systems until expansion crossed the Atlantic. When ships crossed, they moved entire ecosystems, animals, grains, and seeds that altered American landscapes. By the late 16th century, watermelons were growing in Florida, finding a remarkably compatible destination.
Once planted, it needed little time to be useful. Its ability to produce fruit in heat was appreciated.
Indigenous communities also adopted watermelon. They were sophisticated farmers who incorporated useful plants into their systems. Seeds move through trade, gifts, and imitation. Watermelon became American through countless local exchanges. Watermelon eventually appeared farther north, showing it was no longer confined to the subtropical edge. Its American history was beginning, but another human movement was transforming the continent at the same time. Colonial America was inseparable from slavery. Millions were forcibly transported, carrying traditions despite everything being taken from them.
Watermelon was an African crop. Under brutal conditions, it became part of a complicated Atlantic food world.
Small gardens allowed some to supplement rations, preserve knowledge, and create opportunities for limited trade.
Saving seed was an ordinary action, but under slavery, control over food was a significant act of continuity. And the fruit's productivity helped secure its place in the agricultural landscape of the American South.
Black Americans participated in food economies, using agricultural skill to create economic space wherever circumstances allowed. A watermelon could be a commodity sold for money. That economic independence would become important after slavery.
The Civil War shattered the order. Emancipation changed the meaning of labor and the possibility of earning independently.
Growing a crop personally carried meaning. Controlling one's own labor was part of the struggle for independence.
Watermelon fit that economy well. Seeds were cheap, the climate was favorable, and demand was high.
Bringing produce into town and setting a price challenged the old hierarchy of control over freed people.
Then opponents of equality turned that association against the people who benefited from it.
Racist entertainment portrayed black people with watermelon imagery to depict them as lazy or incapable.
These images appeared everywhere. Repetition made it feel normal to audiences, despite being deliberately constructed. Distortion was cruel because it erased the real story. Productivity was rewritten as a harmful social bias.
Minstrel culture spread the stereotype further, making discrimination easier to laugh at and ignore.
Symbols do not lose meaning when presses stop. Understanding the origins helps distinguish the fruit from the ideology. Actual people continued doing what humans do, growing, selling, and sharing. The racist image was propaganda layered on reality. Its American history was beginning, but another human movement was transforming the continent at the same time. Watermelon farming was brutally unpredictable. Diseases like fusarium wilt attacked through soil, collapsing fields before market.
Resistance was not an abstract goal. It meant selling truckloads versus watching months of labor disappear.
In 1936, a lab was established in Charleston to improve crops, including the fruit the region knew well. Plant breeding is patience. Breeders grow thousands of plants, looking for a combination of flavor, yield, and resistance. The researcher worked on a fruit that became one of the most influential cultivars of the 20th century. The goal wasn't just flavor. The fruit needed to grow across a broad region and survive being stacked. The result was Charleston Gray, long, light-colored, and protected by a rind suited to handling and transport. In 1954, it was released. Its useful traits made it important far beyond South Carolina. Shipping mattered. A fruit capable of traveling without damage could reach customers far from the farm. Watermelon changed from a local crop to a retail product selected for a national marketplace.
This altered breeder values. A perfect fruit now had to satisfy both the eater and the supply chain.
Consumers were attracted to convenience. Generations accepted seeds as normal, but the 20th century wanted change. Removing seeds was easy, but breeders saw opportunity. What if it could form fruit without mature seeds? The breakthrough came from chromosome manipulation, not engineering. Scientists found plants with different counts could be crossed. A diploid has 2 sets. Breeders create a tetraploid with 4. The resulting triploid offspring has 3 sets.
Triploids grow fruits, but reproduction fails. The result is a fruit without hard seeds.
Seedless is misleading. You see white coats, undeveloped seeds, not the hard seeds found in traditional types.
Seedless production requires pollinizers. Farmers mix genetic types in the same field to stimulate fruit development. Bees are essential. Without pollination, fruit set fails. Seedless slices represent complex, managed insect activity. Consumers loved it. Seedless varieties captured the market. The fruit that children used for spitting now arrived empty.
Seedless isn't engineered. It comes from chromosome-based breeding and hybridization techniques.
Production is now an industrial machine of specialized seed, irrigation, and logistics.
Ripeness is a skill. Unlike some fruits, watermelon doesn't get much sweeter after harvest, so timing is everything.
Cracked fruit is lost value. Handling matters. It's a fragile package of pressurized, water-rich flesh.
Modern logistics moved a seasonal crop across huge distances, available year-round to consumers everywhere. Uniformity is valuable. Retailers prefer fruits that fit palates, narrowing uncertainty despite nature's variation.
But breeders also need diversity. Resistance can exist in wild collections that look nothing like supermarket produce.
It's a circle. Wild relatives hold the traits needed to protect modern varieties created later. But at a roadside stand, nobody thinks about chromosome counts. They just want a sweet fruit. Americans have methods. Tap it, check the spot, judge weight. Ritual shows the mystery inside.
With festivals built identity, a fruit from another continent became a source of local pride and tourism.
Ironically, as seedless conquered stores, nostalgia kept seeds alive in contests. What industry eliminated survived in culture.
For families, it's not history. It's the smell of grass, family talking, and juice running down a child's arm.
Personal memory is history too. Foods survive because people attach experiences to them. Culture makes it unforgettable.
The American story contains a contradiction. It represents pleasure, yet carries history where racist culture weaponized it.
Remembering that requires understanding why the stereotype was constructed and how it failed to represent real black farmers.
When history is restored, the meaning changes. We see the machinery of the joke and the dignity it tried to undermine.
Return to the picnic. It looks the same, but if history has done its job, you see a different fruit.
Beneath the rind is Africa. Wild relatives and farmers selecting plants before anyone understood genetics.
Then the Atlantic. Ships carrying crops between worlds, transforming an African plant into an American crop. There is Reconstruction. Free Americans cultivating their own crops in a society determined to limit independence.
There is a difficult history. The moment media transformed a fruit into a negative symbol that echoed through time.
There is science. Researchers breeding disease resistance and shipping qualities into varieties like Charleston Gray.
And there is genetics. The mathematics of chromosome sets that formed sweet flesh without the seeds carried for thousands of years. Consumers loved it. Seedless varieties captured the market. The fruit that children used for spitting now arrived empty. The child doesn't need to know the history for it to taste sweet. But knowing makes the ordinary extraordinary. A tiny seed connects our shelves with farmers who lived thousands of years ago, never knowing what their crop would become.
The watermelon today is not purely African or American. It is the result of human movement and biological selection.
The story isn't finished. Breeders are still searching for resistance, using genetic traits that earlier generations dismissed. The future of agriculture depends on preserving the past. A small, overlooked plant can contain the solution to tomorrow's problems. Next time you see a watermelon, remember how far it traveled. America didn't invent it, but it acquired new meanings. What looks simple is human history.